but like our perspective.
Shabbat Shalom. Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here with you another Sabbath. Oh, this is awesome. As I was looking over the past week or so, I started to notice different questions and I started to notice different people saying different things. And it didn't worry me, but it did give me pause as to how to address it and how to deal with it. So I reached out to my brother Ronnie and we got to talking. And some of the things that had me a little, not even concerned, but let me understand that there are some other things that we need to go a little deeper in with all that are in our assembly together so that we would all be on the same page. Because I know that if I see some of these things and scratch my head as to how others get to their determination of when the Sabbath is or when it isn't, or when was the new moon, or when was this, or, what day is it? Hello, we need Jesus. How are you? So when I see those kinds of things, I said, this is an area that we need to address. Put it on audio so that people in their, in their everyday can just come back and reflect on it and look at it. And I think this, not that any of our other teachings have not been important. I think this may be clutch, as Ronnie says, clutch information for those who may have some questions. Now, what were some of the things that queried me over the last few weeks or last few days especially? The first thing was that a lot of people believed that the Sabbath was Monday, this past Monday. And then, of course, we have the all-knowing astrological new moon, which every scientist and their mama was actually announcing as having some, going into Aquarius, having some greatness with regards to the Chinese New Year. There's a lot of stuff that's out there, and it's sort of hard to delineate if you are coming into this newness with crisp eyes. And so we don't want to muddy the water and we don't want folks to get confused. Moreover, we want you to know that you're doing everything the way Yah wants you to. With that in mind, Ronnie is going to get right into a teaching that's going to teach us and share with us the exact way we are to look at the proper timekeeping and answer some of the questions as to why some might be thrown off. I tossed out the idea that it just might be because the day is actually dawn to dawn. And then you look at yesterday, for example, when I looked online, I saw that they were considering the day starting at midnight. So there is a lot of hours. Ronnie, hello to you and your beautiful wife. I want to welcome you here to the Lockhart Perspective. What say you, kind sir?
Oh, Shabbat Shalom. It's always a pleasure
Shabbat
to be here.
Shalom.
Yeah, you're right, and just to be concise and precise, it's not the astrological new moon that the scientists are speaking on. It's the astronomical new moon, and I just want to be as accurate as possible, especially on this specific episode, because we need to hone in and focus in on exactly what scripture says versus, check this out now, what the traditions of men has perpetuated. And there is a vital difference. So we'll discuss a couple of things, but maybe not so much a teaching, but more so we're just gonna show exactly how we got here from the historical aspect. And we'll use some scripture here and there, but maybe not diving into scripture per se, but definitely the historicity. We have to add that into the equation when we're trying to figure out, just how muddy these waters have gotten.
Well, that's awesome. And so I'm going to show you guys what I mean for clarification, just so that you guys understand when I say, hey, I see that this is something that they're talking about right now. For some of you, you may have come into this where it's showing the new moon in Aquarius is helping us out in your life. Now, it may not be something that you do or that you align your life with. However, if your algorithm on your cell phone or on your computer has seen you looking for moon and new moon and things of that nature, this is some of the stuff that pops up when you're looking. And so this is definitely going by astrology. And so when some would see this, we're covering all the bases. When some would see this, they would say, but wait a minute, what is that? And why is it this way? And well, isn't it the same thing? No, it isn't. It is not the same thing. What they're talking about is something totally different than what we go by. So, with that in mind, we're definitely going to look in, as Ronnie just said, all the historicity. We're going to dig into everything. And I trust that everyone that's here will leave a little more cleary eye. Before we get into everything, I do want to say hello to Amy Duran. Hello. Oh, brother Steve Willis, it does us really good to see you here today. Hey, guys, Shabbat Shalom. Same to you, brother. Same to you. Also, we need Jesus. And then I don't see anybody else that's actually speaking, but hello to everyone. Ronnie, I'm going to go ahead and give you the screen, sir, and let me know what you need, and I'll put it up for you.
That sounds good. That sounds excellent. And so we've introduced a tool that we can use as a reference as far as timeanddate.com. And I want to show you some of the rhetoric and read some of the blurbs that they have put to give us more understanding as far as how modern scientific astronomy views and words things. And this is an overview. This is clearly just an overview, but I want to highlight a couple of points. And first and foremost, we're going to go to timeanddate.com. Let me pull it up real quick. All right, and if you could share my screen, I'm just going to start reading so we can get a couple of foundational points underneath our belt so we can figure this thing out collectively. It says the phases of the moon, and I take it that we are screen sharing correctly. So the phases of the moon. So there's phases of the moon. It says half of the moons, and this is according to timeanddate.com, which is this is precision science as far as mapping out in detail the astronomical points of the sun, the moon, and the stars. It says half of the moon's surface is always illuminated by sunlight. However, just how much of that light we can see from our point of view of Earth varies every day, and this is what we refer to as a moon phase. And then it gives you a nice little graph as far as picture references or what have you. So down here at the bottom of this graph, you have the first quarter. Because you're starting on the left-hand side of this graph at the new moon, and the new moon is called the astronomical new moon, which is not in accordance with the definition of the biblical new moon. So therein lies confusion point 1A. So out of the many confusing aspects of it, they have already confused the difference between the biblical new moon, and they've separated themselves, and they call the dark moon, which gives no light whatsoever, they call that the astronomical new moon. So this graph here is illustrating the astronomical new moon, starting from the left hand side. So you have new moon, and then it goes around. You have the waxing crescent. It goes we're going counterclockwise here, and then it goes the waxing crescent, and then it goes to the first quarter, to the waxing gibbous, and then to the full moon. And right here at the new moon is the first day of the month, if you will, and then at the bottom where the first quarter is, that is the first week. And then over here on the right hand side at the full moon, you have the second week. And then at the top at the third quarter, you have the fourth week. And then we go back all around to the next month, which resets itself, if you will. So just a rough graph, and it tells you that they have divided these concepts up into 8 phases of the moon. So it says sun lights up the moon. The moon does not radiate its own light, Now this is all information based in timeanddate.com. So the moon does not radiate its own light, but the moon's surface reflects the sun's rays. The Western culture, mind you, check it out. The Western culture. In Western culture, we divide the lunar month into four primary and four intermediate moon phases. Technically, the primary moon phases occur at a specific moment in time, and the intermediate moon phases take up the time in between. I'm gonna skip down to the paragraph. All right, new moon. That's the first primary phase. It occurs the moment when the sun and the moon are aligned and the sun and the earth are on opposite sides of the moon. A new moon cannot normally be seen from Earth since only the dark side of the moon phases since only the dark side of the moon faces, our planet at this point. Sometimes if the new moon is close to the lunar nodes of its path, it can cause a solar eclipse. The greatest difference between high and low tide, also known as spring tides, take place around new moon and full moon. Okay, so now we're going to speak on the waxing crescent. Now these are just blurbs as far as just to get you understanding. So check it. The moment a thin sliver of the moon becomes visible after new moon is the beginning of the first intermediate phase, which they call the waxing crescent moon. Now, look at this. They have to say this. They have to say this. In the past, this used to be called new moon, while the darkest phase was called dark moon. This traditional definition of new moon is still in use in some cultures, defining the beginning of the months. For instance, in the Islamic calendar. So once again, I'm going to say this is the astronomical new moon, and they have to give a qualifier because they know that they have changed it as far as historicity is concerned. So I'm going to read that from the top. The moment a thin sliver of the moon becomes visible after new moon, what they call new moon, is the beginning of the first intermediate phase called the waxing crescent moon. In the past, this used to be called new moon, while the darkest phase was called dark moon. This traditional definition of new moon is still in use in some cultures, defining the beginning of the months. For instance, in the Islamic calendar.
So
Uh,
isn't that convenient? It
right.
used to be like they can change it. Ah,
Well, apparently
haha, they look to
they can,
change.
but exactly, but Daniel tells us that the beast seeks to change times and seasons, and they're very crafty. They've done it well, and they just assert themselves and say, "Hey, this is what it is." And hey, this is what it is. And if you're listening to them, you're a part of that system, um, collectively. But okay, so the rest of the moon is also sometimes faintly visible. I'm moving on to the next sentences. The rest of the moon is also sometimes faintly visible during most of the phase because Earth also reflects sunlight onto the moon. This phenomenon is called Earth shine or Da Vinci glow, and it is most noticeable in April and May. Okay, so um, we can go on to discuss these things, but I wanted to highlight the fact that they have changed from the history. Okay, so this is only a couple of 100 years. Let's give them a whole lot of years. Say this has been in effect as far as the astronomical, the astronomy community calling the dark moon the new moon. This has only been in effect, and I'm giving them plenty of years, for 500 years. Let's say that, for 500 years. So for 5,500 years, it has historically always been, as far as the new moon is concerned, the first sight of the sliver of the beginnings of the first moon of the new moon, and that's what they call new moon. But so this is a relatively new phenomenon, and they have articulated it to be a thing that has always been. And if you don't look it up for yourself, you're just going to think that that's how it's always has been, and you're going to tie that thought process into the biblical narrative when you read the narrative, because you don't, you haven't untied the two to know that there is and has always been a difference. um, Let me just look to see if there's any other pertinent information concerning what we're discussing. um, no, there's not. As far as the phases of the moon. So initially, I just wanted to bring that to the table, and I hope that I trust that these words here has shown you, and has girded you with understanding, with that much more understanding as we move forward. I'm going to, so let's go to the lunar month. All right, so check it. What I did is I went to timeanddate.com, and then I went right up here to sun and moon, and then I clicked on the moon phases. If you can see my, my cursor or what have you. And when I clicked on the moon phases, what we just read is what we got. And then right here on the right hand side, there's a whole list of things, and I'm just going to uh, you know dance around some of these highlighted points. And we were just on the moon phases, and I clicked on one, and now we're in the lunar month. So they call something the lunar month, which is actually redundant, because the word month comes from the word moon, and lunar is moon. So we're actually calling it the the moon month. But yeah, so the lunar month. Okay. So let's read on this briefly. It says a lunar month is the time it takes the moon to pass through all of the moon phases, measured from one new moon to the next new moon. All right. A lunar month is also known, right here, a lunar month is also known as a lunation, while the astronomical term for this period is a synodic month, from the Greek term synodos, meaning meeting or conjunction. So it says we measure the lunar month, or a full lunation. We measure the lunar month from the precise moment of a new moon. It says we do that. It says we do. That's what we do. They're saying that's what they do. We measure, who? The westernized culture, the westernized civilization does this. We measure the lunar month from the precise moment of a new moon, when the sun and earth are aligned on opposite sides of the moon, until the next new moon, hence a full lunation. Okay, in the period from 1600 to 2600, an average lunar month lasts 29.53 days, or 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 2 seconds. The shortest lunar month ended July 17th in 1708 and lasted 29.272 days, rounding it out, or 29 days, 6 hours, 31 minutes, and 25 seconds. While the longest was the one that ended on January 14th, 1611, and lasted 8.325 days, or 29 days, 19 hours, 58 minutes, and 54 seconds. The exact length varies slightly due to the elliptical shape of the moon's orbit. So it's not a complete, a spherical orbit. It's slightly oblong. So it's going to, vary slightly by a couple of seconds to a couple of hours, depending on where it is in its orbit, or in its journey, or what have you. Since the lunar month is about 29.5 days, it is possible for there to be 2 full moons in one calendar month. And we're speaking on the Gregorian calendar, or they're speaking on the Gregorian calendar when they speak on this. It says, since the lunar month is about 29.5 days, it is possible for there to be 2 full moons in one calendar month. This is called a monthly blue moon. It is also possible for there to be no full moon in February. This is one of the definitions of a black moon. All right. So when they say, every blue moon, they're talking about when there's two full moons inside of a Gregorian calendrical month. The thing is, the moon is what governs the month. So, in actuality, as far as Yah's creation is concerned, there can never. It is impossible for there to be two moons and two full moons inside of a month. Um, and I hope that made sense. Okay, so we have the synodic versus the sidereal. Um, Lunation number. Let me see here. Anything that's pertinent. Primary and intermittent meaning. Okay, let's look at the lunar calendars just briefly. It says some of the oldest calendars we know of are lunar calendars. Check this out, such as the Roman calendar, based on the lunar month. The word month is even derived from the word moon. They acknowledge these things. Rome acknowledges these things, and they still tell you that we're going to do something else. Today, most countries use the Gregorian calendar, which is based on Earth's revolutions around the sun. However, the current months, September, October, November, and December, are still named after the original place in the ancient Roman calendar. So I want to deviate from the task briefly, and I want to look at the Roman calendar. And when I say Roman calendar, I'm not talking about the Gregorian calendar, even though the Gregorian calendar is a Roman calendar. There is an ancient calendar called the Roman calendar. And then Julius, the Caesar Julius switched it up, and then he created the Julian calendar. Gregory came behind him and tweaked it a little bit, and then now we're under the Gregorian calendar. So let's look at the Roman calendar. This making sense so far, Miss Felicia?
Oh, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. I also have some scriptural context that I want to share with some folks. I see some questions out there, and so I've got some stuff for you guys as well. So this is really good, and I'm glad we're doing it. I think it does answer a lot of questions, and I think it's very important. It's vital.
This
This is
this is this
vital.
is pertinent information. This is pertinent information to being able to, move forward articulately,
Absolutely,
and
and
knowing that you know what you know,
that's it.
how you know, and why you know,
That's
and what
it.
you're doing.
That's
Um,
it.
with some of the scriptural references that you had, is it pertinent to speak on it at the moment? Because we can, if you need to.
Well, I see some questions that are in the chat, and so based on some of those questions, I pulled a few things for you. Um, the one thing that I wanted to say is yes, the book of luminaries, as we've touched on here several times in the book of Enoch, the chapter which is the luminaries is going to be Enoch 77. You can go down a little bit to let me see. Hold on just a second. Right here. I'm going to borrow this just a quick second. And if you are looking there, you can see that's the book of Enoch, chapter 77. So in this, it does talk about the luminaries. So you'll see the term orb, you'll see the sun. You can go down here to right around 14. And when it is wholly extinguished, its light is consumed in heaven. And on the first day, it is called the new moon. For on that day, light is received into it. So this, for your own notes, for those who may see, oh, I see the phrase, the book of Enoch listed there, and it talks about it. Yes, you can go to the book of luminaries, and it's literally around this chapter. So it's not just this chapter, but it's like a chapter after, and what leads up to it. You can gain some knowledge and understanding from the verses 1 through 13. So that's one of the things that I wanted to mention as I saw that. But Ronnie, I'm going to go ahead and take that off the screen and and put that back, because every time I see this Roman thing, it just gives me pause and the willies altogether. Yeah. But first, before you do that, Stilgar, hey, how's it going? Y'all know I gotta say hey. Pretty lady Sharon Marie, how you doing? And Maureen Olson, it's good to see you. I'm glad to see you come in here this evening. For us, it's evening here in in Huntsville anyway, in Alabama. William Craig, how are you, kind sir? So good to see you. And of course, Rachel Van Ziel, very happy to see you as well. I hope that I got everybody, and if not, I'll comb through here, but I think I got everybody. Oh no, Proverb Nation, how are you today? It's good to see you as well. Oh, and he says, blessings, shalom, everyone. Shalom to you as well, brother. There you go. Carol
Okay.
Merrill is done.
Well, since we're shouting out everybody, William Craig shout out, and Alan Davis shout out to Alan Davis as well.
I didn't see
Um,
Alan. What's going on, Alan? And Faith is in here. Where is Alan? Hey, Alan, you're here. Hi. Hi.
and a huge shout out to Faith. Okay, so yeah, excellent point in chapter 77 of Enoch, where it talks about that the new moon is when the moon receives its light, not at the dark moon. You notice that, not at the dark moon, but when it first receives its light. That's the
Mm-hmm.
new moon. Okay, so yeah, and they have to do a qualifier to let you know, yeah, we switched it up along the way, but that that's one of
I'm
the best.
glad they tell us.
Yeah, they will tell you,
Confirms.
but they're not going to broadcast it. It's not on a billboard anywhere, but they will tell you, and then they tuck it away somewhere
Yeah,
in
in the
the
Reading Rainbow.
archives.
They
Right.
hide it in the Reading Rainbow because they know people won't read there. Howdy, Alan. They hide it in the Reading Rainbow because they know for the most part we're too busy to read. But now we're not.
Okay. Okay. So moving forward, as far as the Roman calendar goes, this is the ancient calendar when I speak on the Roman calendar. And we'll just briefly discuss it to let you know how we got where we are. The Roman calendar is the ancestor of our modern calendar. Some of its features are still in use today. The Roman calendar is the time reckoning system used in ancient Rome. However, because the calendar was reformed and adjusted countless times over the centuries, the term essentially denotes a series of evolving calendar systems whose structures are partly unknown and vary quite a bit. Here we focus mainly on the calendar used in the Roman Republic, and this is 500 BCE, pardon me. Is 500 BCE. Also known as the Republican calendar. It is the earliest calendar system from Rome for which we have historical evidence. It was used until 45 BCE. So we're talking about a 500-year period where this specific calendar in the Roman Republic was utilized when it was replaced by the Julian calendar. Based So what are we speaking on? The ancient Roman calendar. And even the Roman calendar was based on ancient lunar calendars. Side note, side note, Rome has nothing of itself. It borrows everything and then it tweaks it, it rebrands it, and makes it orthodox and tells you that it's theirs and this is what you need to do. The Republican calendar was derived from a line of older calendar systems whose exact design is largely unknown. It is believed that the original Roman calendar was a lunar calendar that followed the phases of the moon. And we just read on the phases of the moon briefly. This basic structure was preserved through the centuries, which is the reason why we use months today. Why? Because the word months derives from the word moon. Um, Under further investigation, only 10 months at first. According to tradition, Romulus, the legendary first king of Rome, oversaw an overhaul of the Roman calendar system around 738 BCE. The resulting calendar, whose structure borrowed heavily from the ancient Greek calendar system, right? Borrowed heavily. They always borrow heavily. Had only 10 months, with March being the first month of the year. Interestingly, the winter season was not assigned any months. So the year only lasted 304 days, with 61 days unaccounted for in the winter. So they just waited until spring came after the 304th day. um, and those are called Intercalary Days. But mind you, it says following another calendar reform, which later Roman writers attributed to Romulus's successor, Numa Pompilius, the Republican calendar was instituted. To account for the days of winter between the years, two additional months were introduced: January, Ianuarius, and Februarius, uh, or Januarius. Um, This meant that some of the month names no longer agreed with their position in the calendar. For example, September means the seventh month, but it is now the ninth month of the year, an inconsistency that was preserved and is still part of the Gregorian calendar that we use today. A common year was now divided into 12 months of different lengths: 4 full months with 31 days, 7 hollow months with 29 days, and 1 month with 28 days. And we see over here on the right hand side the number of days as far as the months of the Roman Republic, of the ancient Roman Republic calendar. Um, you had 29 days, 28 days, 31 days, 29 days, 31 days, so on and so forth. Um, before we move forward, I just want to touch on a couple of things. So this lets you know that these are man's designs. These are contrived concepts that man has created. And while that man is in ruling authority, you have to go by what he told you to do. So going back up here,
To
Romulus.
a point,
Oh, not that you have to, but
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Because we're going solely by the word and giving the explanation so that you see
Right.
where the confusion is coming from, because we all know that Yah is not the author of that confusion, but clearly all of us can say we've seen some confusing stuff out there. Even if you just put it into the search engine of YouTube by itself, you're going to see a myriad of things. But what I love about Ronnie is the fact that he studies to study to study to study all the way down to where there is no confusion. And so that is the reason why we're going over it, and he's bringing it all to light to tell you how we can become confused and where. See, he's exposing it. If you remember what Lee said the other week, Ronnie, where he says, I know who you are, I know where you come from. And as soon as you are exposed, you can't confuse the masses anymore.
Right. There's no more power. I
There's
took
no
away
more
your power.
power. Hallelujah.
Right. But you're right. Like you say, to a point that we have to abide, but in actuality, we do not have to abide at all. The thing is, like, that's what they perpetuate to make us feel like we have to abide. And that's what I would like to say. To clean that whole concept up, like we have to do what they told us to do. But this fellow right here, Romulus, which is the head honcho, if you will, of Rome, the founder of Rome, back in the 700s, he formulated this. And okay, so when did the Gregorian calendar come into existence? That came into the existence in the 1500s. In the 1500s, what do they call it? CE, AD, CE. So we're talking about a 2,000-year gap. So this is 1500. So the Gregorian calendar has only been, the king of the hill,
They're
for
one of my
500
favorite
years.
shows.
For 500 years.
Mm-hmm.
For 500 years. So in the scheme of things, this is a brand new, this is infantile understanding, but we're born into this construct, so it just is, and we think that it has always been. But the majority of history has always been something else. um okay.
And then it's also important to note that it's always based on their ego. A lot of these folks change dates, weeks, months, added things to it, took things away from another month, picked on one smaller one, pulled it over here to make themselves bigger. It's always based on commerce and ego. There's nothing that they do for, just the heck of it. It's definitely, I mean, retarding the whole thing, as if they, oh, well, we fixed this. It was never broken. When they go in and they'll retard something, turn it totally different than the way it was supposed to be used. And that's the reason why we have all of the confusion in our Western world right now today, especially when we look at the United States having all of the confusion using things for things other than what they were created for, if that makes sense. So these are great points that you're bringing up, Ronnie.
Definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, take this and tuck this into that little small pocket into your jeans, and that's in your jeans, that really small one. That's what that small one is for, to tuck this type of information in there so you can use it when the world tries to confuse you.
And here I was using it for mad money. I'd stick a 20 in there, fold it up real nice.
But moving forward, what this subtitle right here, the leap month, Mercedonius, or March. So the Republican calendar lasted 355 days, which is about 10 days shy of a tropical year, the time it takes Earth to revolve around the sun. To keep the calendar in sync with the seasons, a leap month called Mercedonius, I'll say Mercedonius, but it's Mercedonius, or Intercalaris. Like I said, these are intercalary months or intercalary days. So this word is intercalaris in nature, or this month that they added is intercalaris in nature, and it's called Mercedonius. It was added in some years, normally every 2 or 3 years. By custom, the insertion of the leap month was initiated by the Pontifex Maximus, and the Pontifex Maximus has morphed into who we know as the Pope. So he's the head of Rome, the Pontifex Maximus, a high priest of the College of Pontiffs in ancient Rome. However, this system was vulnerable to abuse. And I'll get to that in a second. I'll continue reading. But side note, he's the high priest of Rome, and we're supposed to listen to our high priest. And yeah, let that sink in. Okay. Since the Roman calendar year defined the term of office of elected officials, a Pontifex Maximus was able to control the length of his term simply by adding a leap month. So there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah, self serving.
So when Julius Caesar became Pontifex Maximus, he ordered a calendar reform. And like I said, that's Julius, and where we get the Julian calendar. A calendar reform, which eliminated leap months and resulted in the implementation of the Julian calendar in 45 BCE, the direct predecessor of today's Gregorian calendar. And without going too much into the rabbit hole, like, we can click on that to see all of the nuances that has led us to where we are. But in keeping with trying to facilitate a nice time frame of us being before you, we won't go there. But I referenced the site. Go here and check it out, or other places, a lot of other places. But this is good information, like I said, to put under your belt.
It
Um,
really is.
so
This is really good.
the calends, the nones, and the ides. I'll say the nuns.
The
Yes.
nuns.
So the Roman
Mm.
calendar highlighted a number of days in each month. The calends, or the calendai, were the first days of each month. The first days of each month. The name is derived from the Greek word kalein, to announce, which may initially have been used in the ancient lunar calendar to announce the day of the new moon or the first sliver of the waxing crescent moon.
Mm. Ain't that something?
They have to let you know that, because they know that they have, usurped the
The truth.
ancient definition. Yeah, the truth. the ancient definition of what it actually was. So they have to let you know when they're speaking in the past. Oh yeah, yeah, it's not actually the new moon, and what we consider the new moon today. It's actually the first sliver, which has been, the original concept for millennia.
A lot longer than what they've been doing, switching
Absolutely.
and turning stuff around.
So you have the kalends, and then you have the ides or the idus or the edus,
Idus.
right? So
Idus.
so the ides occurred one day before the middle of each month, depending on the month's length. It fell on the 13th or the 15th day. In the lunar calendar, the ides marked the day of the full moon. So, briefly, let's just tie in some tie-ins and connect some dots. If we've heard the Ides of March,
Yes.
so we've heard the Ides of March. March is the beginning of the year. This is actually a nod to the Passover, because the Ides of March, the full moon in quote unquote March, or the beginning of the biblical year. Sometimes it's in March, sometimes it's in April. But was started the Passover started on the 14th even of the month, and you knew it was the full moon, and the next day was the 15th day of that month, and the Exodus began. So
Okay.
when we're saying the Ides of March, they're inadvertently they're referencing underneath it all is the
Mm-hmm.
Passover itself.
Mm.
That's
Okay.
not what it has morphed to mean today, but that in essence, in the original gameplay, this is the underlying reference. So the Nonai, the Nani, fell on the seventh day of the 31-day months, and on the fifth day of the 29-day months, marking um, the day of the first quarter moon, so on and so forth. So this is just showing you how they executed their calendar,
Yes.
some of the words that they used, and we can see these words rolling into modern day concepts today. Martius or whatever. That's Mars. That's where we get March from. Calends. This is the original form of where we actually get the word calendar from. Ides. We just discussed a portion of that, so on
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. Um, but yeah, I think that this is good information to put everything together to get a broader understanding of what's out there and what we're dealing with.
No, I think that's excellent. I think it's very good. And I think it's also important that we have this at this particular time, because we are going into a lot of different changes, and there's going to be so many different things that are coming as far as weather is concerned, as far as visibility, and being able to see the moon. And I don't just walk outside myself. Oftentimes I'm either hitting up Rachel. Today I even hit up Steve. I was like, okay, what did you see? Because I know I didn't see anything. What did anybody else see? Even though we're in different geographical areas, it doesn't matter. I still need to make sure that I'm not tripping. But I do go out and I do look. Last night I was outside just glancing around. It was nice and clear. I saw all the stars and everything. But it's just very important to get into this as deeply as you can. Can anybody with a wrench please help see Lawson Roberts 4 out of the room? And so when you're considering all of that, it's very important to note, hey, you know what? I can call a couple of people who's in this with me, which is the reason why when Ronnie suggested months ago that we do this on Sabbath, it this is just wonderful, because it helps keep each and every one of us, in tune, and it helps us know that we do have others who are looking at the same thing at the same time. And that's important. It's very important. And it's also important to note that there was a goal and that there was a reason for editing and changing. Hey, Leaf Desi, welcome. For editing and changing the time. That it's always been for one reason, and that is control. And so, yes, to see this is exceptional. For those of you who are just coming into the room, we are just tying up and putting some, dotting some I's and crossing some T's that will help us all be in one accord as it relates to the proper timekeeping of the Sabbath. Now, one important thing you brought up, Ronnie, while we were chatting last evening, and it was specifically about that, we know that is from dawn to dawn. And there is a passage, and I think that it is in, um, I want to say Nehemiah. I want to say that there's a couple of passages. I think one is Nehemiah, one may be Samuel, but there's, and maybe you can remember it, and if not, I'll pull it up. But there are some passages where they were saying, okay, well, they were all together in an assembly for the Sabbath. They left, or for New Moon, for specifics. Let's be specific, okay? And they left, and they all were told by the Levites, or the priests, to go and eat, fellowship. They had already gone, they had already, fellowship with the word, and then they were all going back home and they were eating, but it was all done during the daytime. All of this that you see in First Samuel and in the book of Ezekiel, all of that, Nehemiah, all of that, I should say, is all new in the daytime. So when we look at the confusion that could be from even looking at the astronomical new moon, we see that they are looking from midnight to midnight. We go from dawn to dawn. And Ronnie made an exceptional point. In that stretch of time, there's about 12 hours, 13 hours sometimes, as far as light is concerned. So there is a big difference as to why somebody would say, well, it's Monday. Or no, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. Well, no, it's not Tuesday, it was Sunday. There's a big difference, and the confusion comes in specifically when you wrap this that we have on the screen around it all. When you get that understood, then you say, okay, well, let me just consult with Ronnie, or let me just consult with let me just talk with one of my brothers and my sisters. Let me give Steve a call. Let me ask him what he sees. I see what I see, but I need a couple more witnesses.
Because
Does
you
that
need
make sense?
right, because
Yeah,
you need 2 or 3 witnesses to establish a thing.
there you
And
go.
but you have to have some reliable witnesses. You can't have anybody that
Which is why I call
you're with.
you, I call Steve, I call, Rachel, because I know that you guys are people who go out all the time. One of the ladies that's not here right now, Sarah Brown, she and her husband, they are very good as well as, to go out and glance and look and see. As a matter of fact, he's got a platform that they've got where he's literally set it up where he can see. And I think that diligence that people go through, that all of you all, when you say, Rachel, you and your husband, you and the hubby walk out and look together, it's that diligence that makes the difference when you've
Pardon
got that kind of diligence. You know what I mean? But yeah, to have reliable people, as Ronnie has said, because I'll call Ronnie, I'm like, Ronnie, did you see anything? He's like, no, you're not going to see anything. Because he's been doing this so long, and he knows with a surety how the things fall. One other important thing, we do not have 31 days. And so when you consider the 31 day that throws everything off, a lot of different things throw you off. So what am I saying in a nutshell? What I'm saying
well,
is, no matter what you see, don't be confused, because we saw what Ronnie just shared with us. But if we consult the word, and we have our, people that we trust that we can talk to, we can work it out. Go ahead, Ronnie.
well, I mean, case in point, to your point, is that they start the day, the Roman or Westernized culture, if you will, starts the day at midnight. But the scriptures tell you that the day starts at dawn. So, there's confusion in that aspect as well. So confusion abounds. We have to sift through the muddy waters to get to that narrow, fine, road that we're supposed to navigate. And we have to navigate it correctly. What is the gauge? The gauge is these scriptures, is these words that has been that has survived throughout the times, specifically for us, the end time generation. Yeah. So
Hallelujah.
yeah, as far as this new moon is concerned, let's go ahead and just speak on some of the blurbs that they have put, that they were nice enough to put into paragraph form for us.
Do you want me to put that back up? Because I do have
Yeah.
a couple of more scriptures that I want to help strengthen everybody with. Prior to that, I know we've already discussed chapter 77, or the book of the luminaries in the book of Enoch. Please do these studies on your own.
Yeah, definitely.
Stilgar has a question for you, and it says, a question for Ronnie, and I'm catching up. I've heard that April 1st is actually New Year, and that's a question from Stilgar the Free Man.
Okay, well, I'll just answer that briefly, but yeah, whatever you have as far as some of the scriptural context, go ahead and do that. But since you brought up the question from Stilgar the Freeman, April 1st, now listen carefully what I'm saying because it might sound confusing. April 1st is the new year according to Rome and the Pope, but there's a whole entire story that comes from that. And actually, we touched on it last year. April 1st is also called April Fool's Day. And April Fool's Day is not April Fool's Day on April 1st for a reason. It's because,
Mm,
they switched it up. But the internet, you can get something, you can get information, 2 seconds, in 2 seconds across the world. The Pope changed from April 1st in the 1500s, and we're talking about Gregory. In these European countries, they accept Italy, not all European countries, but um, the ones that were prominent of the
the
day.
pontiff
Yeah,
places.
they changed April 1st. They changed but sometimes it's in March. Sometimes it's in March because they initially went off of the moon cycles. But they changed from April 1st to January 1st, and they implemented the new year on January 1st. A lot of people didn't get the memo, and I'm talking about didn't get the memo for years. So people that were in the know was like, "Oh, you're April, you still celebrate the new year on April 1st. Don't you know it's January 1st? You're a fool." And then that's where the concept of April Fool's Day derived. That was a brief overview. I mean, we can go into it extensively, but that's just to give you a head start to,
Yeah.
as far as your studies are concerned.
Well, I also think I think it's funny because when you consider we're still in winter, and you're having a new year in right smack in the middle of winter, and new year usually anything new is for new life to be planted or to reap or to whatever, but it's in the middle of the winter. That never seems to query anyone. Right here in Nehemiah, as we're looking here, Nehemiah, it talks about, basically how all the people gathered together, and they all got together as one man into the street that was before the Watergate. And Watergate, huh? And they spake. That's the politics in me. I just couldn't resist. And they spoke unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law to Moses, which Yahweh, or which Yahweh had commanded to Yasharal. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding, upon the first day of the 7th month. And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate from the morning until midday, before the men and the women. That's my point, midday, before the men and the women, and those that could understand. And the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law. And Ezra the scribe stood upon a pulpit of wood, which they had made for the purpose. And beside him stood, is that Mattithiah? How do you say that, Ronnie? Mattithiah? And that's his name for today. And Shema and Ananiah and Uriah and Hilkiah and all these wonderful people down to verse 5. And Ezra opened the book in the sight of the people, for he was above all of the people. And when he opened it, all the people stood up, and Ezra blessed Yahweh, okay, the great Elohim. And all the people answered, Amen, Amen, when lifting up their hands, and they bowed their heads, and they worshiped Yahweh with their faces to the ground. Also, Jeshua, Bani, and all those other great names, all the way until I get down here, till it says, and the Levites caused the people to understand the law, and the people stood in their place. So they read the book of the law of of their Elohim, of Yahweh, distinctly, and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading.
Right, right. So
Now,
it's not so much that you have to read the word, but you have to cause the people to understand what is being read as well. And if you look early on in Nehemiah 8, it tells you that they did this at midday.
yes, that's what we pointed up right up here, that it was midday, which was the point that, you and I were making, was that morning until midday. And so that's telling you that's, pretty much it started early, and then they went and they got themselves the understanding of what was told. Absolutely, Ronnie. But the rest of the passage that I would have read would have gone all the way to 12. In your own time, go on ahead and read that, because you see where it says in verse 11, so the Levites stilled all the people, saying, hold your peace, for the day is separated, neither be grieved. And all the people went their way to eat and drink, and to send portions, and to make great mirth. So the portions that they sent were to people who did not have. So this was basically them giving the word to the people, and then the people getting the word, going their separate way, and making sure that they kept everything about the day sanctified, and then they gave to others who did not have in their homes to eat, or who did not have, period. So they gave. And so this is the portion, because a lot of people, may ask, well, what do you do during that day, Felicia? What do you do? Well, this is what you do. If you don't have an assembly that, that's in your area, that you guys may, maybe you have 3 or 4 families together, maybe you guys all get together and you all read together and you all study together and you give glory, you just rejoice in the Father and all the great things that he's done. And if you don't, then you may do it with just your family. And if you don't have a family, maybe you'll just do it with yourself and your spouse. But this is what you're doing on this day, and it is a separated day, so that you get the idea of how to make it even more personal, and how you can make it even more, you know, I don't want to say ceremonial, but just so that you can get the feeling of it. Because once you get into the actual feast days, that has a totally different feeling that's added on to the great feeling that you already have from doing this. But if you in your own personal time would read Nehemiah 8, 1 through 12, you'll go ahead and you'll see that you'll be studying the word, that you'll be, just talking about great stuff that he's done. And then you're going to go on ahead and make sure that you can help others. But it's always good to have a plan when it comes to the new moon day, feast days, as well as obviously Sabbath. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, well, to give you a buddy for Nehemiah 8, 1 Samuel 20 as well. That's what you
Yes.
were speaking on earlier.
Yes. First
So
Samuel 20.
and that
Yes.
lets you know, as far as these days are concerned. Well, it doesn't let you know, but it gives you insight as to how they were observing these days, and what they did and how they maneuvered, because of what day and what time of the day versus the sun was up versus the dawn or what have you, or the new or the moon was up. You know what I mean? So
Good
it's
point.
just it's an enlightening, when you know what you're looking at. When you know what you're looking at, you can grasp uh, you know, um, clear concepts that are sound doctrine, pertaining to the observation of Sabbath, the true observation of Sabbath. Um, so
Did you
yeah,
want me to pull up Deuteronomy?
no, go to the new moon. We're gonna discuss the new moon real quick, as far as what's on timeanddate.com. But also, what you were talking about. I'm sorry, I had my mic on mute. But yeah, that was my teeth Yah, and my teeth Yah is in the Hebrew.
Did
Uh,
you like how I got on around that?
yes, yeah, it's good. It's excellent. Um, but that's where in Hebrew, it's Matif Yahoo, and that's where in the English we get the word Matthew. That's where we get the name Matthew from.
I don't know who it was, Ronnie, but somebody asked about a blue moon. And, we just had one. Wasn't that somebody's birthday or something? It was in August.
I don't follow blue moons because
No,
blue
we don't
moons are
follow them.
gods. Blue
No,
moons doesn't exist. Like, they had to make something up to be like, oh, there's 2 full moons in a month.
that's what I was going to explain.
Blue
And
moon.
if
We'll
you
call it
want
blue.
to explain that, you can, because that is a thing, but blue moons are not a thing.
No, we read it.
Hello, Chloe.
We already read that in the Lunar Month section of timeanddate.com, where they discussed why there's a blue moon.
Yeah, but this is, and I had this up for then, and so I had the window open. Anyway, so Hazy Az Infidel is here. It's so good to see you. Wow, it's so great. What a blast from the past. Hello, we love you and miss you. It's great to see you. Yeah. So in any case, I digress, but I did want to show you that in tandem with where he was showing or sharing about that, they couldn't figure out what to do because they had messed stuff up so bad. That's my personal opinion. They had jacked things up so much, you're going to be, oh, well, look here. Look what we're going to. It's like when you buy something and you've got all the parts in the box and they give you all the parts specific to what the item is. And then when you look down, the thing is put up. They don't put your bookshelf up, but they got a whole bunch of screws left. And they tell you, well, maybe they gave them to you so that you'd have extra. Nobody does that. Nobody gives you anything extra. They didn't put it together correctly. That's what the problem is. The manufacturer gave you X amount of nuts and bolts, and you didn't follow the instructions. Now you've got a boatload of moons left all over the place, and, well, you may as well paint them blue. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Why not paint them blue? Yeah.
You may
That's
as well paint them blue.
yeah. So I mean, that is a contrived thing. Like, it doesn't exist. They just made it up. Oh, blue moon, blue moon. Yeah, blue moon. And that's our story, and that's what it is now. And
Ironically, they chose blue and dealing with the moon and the sky, but that's another story for
so
another day.
today is actually the snow moon, the
Uh huh.
full
Yeah, I
moon,
saw that.
or
Yeah, I saw.
or, I'm sorry, not today, but this
It was
month.
yesterday, wasn't it? Yesterday.
Well, I mean, this month's moon will be the snow moon, and that's not a thing either. They just, they just make it like, okay, today is a snow moon, and then that's what they do annually. They just call this one the snow moon. You got the strawberry moon. You got all these moons, but these are really things. They're, they're colloquialisms that they make stick. Not that stick, but they make stick.
They make it stick by repeating. They're really good at that, repeating things or doing things over and over again, making you think that it's a thing. If the calendar itself has been hijacked, we are probably not in the proper year of our Lord. I must agree. I don't think that this is, and also another reason for that, Stilgar, is because they did mess up the dates so badly. If you remember in the book of Enoch, and I always reference this because it's one of the first things that really got my attention, was how when Enoch was going into each one of the gates, he literally said the amount of days he was there. And then at the end of going into each gate, talking about how long he was there, he gave the total amount. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't it 364 days that he was there, Ronnie? Let me go and double check.
You're right.
It was right. Okay. So yeah, and so somebody would say 364 days. That has to be a misprint. No, it ain't. That's one of those nuts and bolts that they had left over when you come over to the Roman side of the calendar. What else did you want me to pull up? Did you want me to pull the time and date this back up, Ronnie?
Yes.
Timeanddate.com. Okay, there
Yes.
you
And
go. Hey, the
I'm going to
Jesus freak.
begin to
Hey.
read. I'm going to begin to read. It says that the new moon is when the sun and the moon are aligned. And of course, we've already discussed, the differences between modern day new moon and what it has always, historically been. But it says that it's when the sun and the moon are aligned with the sun and Earth on opposite sides of the moon. And this is an illustration. This is a crude illustration to the point that they are making. This is the point that I want to drive home. It tells you, yeah. Give me a moment. I'm gonna keep on looking. Um,
No
but,
worries.
but you see, there's different subtitles, and I want to go to the religious and cultural significance just to prove the point, even though the point has been made, but just to highlight the inconsistency and the need for them to articulate certain things. The moon guides the dates of many religious and cultural holidays around the world. February's new moon marks the beginning of the lunar year in the Chinese calendar, for example. Uh, about a day after the new moon conjunction, new moon conjunction, which is actually when we will begin to see that first sliver of the the first inkling of the sliver of light from the new moon. It tells you about a day after the new moon conjunction, the moon becomes visible again. The initial period as only the thinnest sliver of a crescent moon becomes visible, used to be called new moon. It didn't used to be called new moon. Y'all don't call it new moon anymore. It's still called new moon. I just want to put that out there. It says it used to be called new moon, while the darkest phase was called dark moon. So now they call the darkest phase new moon, just to add to the confusion. And I'm saying that several times because repetition is the mother of all learning, and we haven't heard these concepts. So I just want to continue to strive to drive it home. This traditional definition of the new moon is still in use in some cultures, defining the beginning of the months, for example, in the Islamic calendar. So once again, I just wanted to highlight that concept. They
Yes.
continually tell you this. They continually tell you this.
Yes. Please do, AZ Infidel, if you've got something that you've done. Yeah, that would be outstanding. Thank you. Yes, we need Jesus. Take care. I know that you're headed to work. You're going to get a nap before you go to work. Have a great, great time at work, and a very safe week. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So these are yes, and you are so welcome. Jesus Freak says thank you for the explanation. And Jesus Freak. The reason why we had to do it is because we did see that there was a lot of confusion, and I don't want to be anybody who gives any misinformation, right? Ronnie and I we're not down with that, and like I said, I'm so happy that Ronnie studies the way that he does, because anytime I get a question that I'm bouncing around, I can always go to him, and then we'll look in things together. Well, let's just look at it together. And it comes out that it's a lot easier when you have somebody that you can do that with. Again, like I said, I'll call Rachel, I'll text Steve, I'll text Rachel, and I'll ask, hey, what have you seen? What do you see out there on your side of the world? Which takes us to this next piece of the conversation, because I see that slither there, that sliver. I see that little sliver. Gosh, it's hard to believe that an hour has gone by already. It doesn't feel like it, so let's just march forward, shall we? It doesn't feel like an hour. But it is important. Oh, what happened to it? Time and date is gone, Ronnie Man.
I pressed the wrong button,
Ah,
people.
Felicia. Stilgar the Freeman says, just an observation. Astronomically, I have noticed that the moon diverges away from the sun after new moon and converges back on a trajectory toward the sun as the moon goes back towards, is that in for north or in? Oh, no. Okay, new moon. Any thoughts, Ronnie? Do you have any thoughts on that? I know
Um,
I don't. I because
it's
that's
on two
that.
different cycles. It's on two different, not cycles. Yeah, cycles, but time frames. Like a this is
This is the part of the
well, this is enough to
of the class that
hurt
I
your.
do this.
This is enough to hurt your brain, if you don't compartmentalize. But
That's
if you
me.
can
That's why I'm getting out of
follow
this.
me or what have you, like the quote unquote yearly, if we're looking at the solar, uh the 365, the 365 days or what have you, when we're looking at the tropical year, in coincidence with the tropical year, which is the quote unquote solar year, concerning the moon, there's only 354 days. So there's like 11 days of just nothing day, as far as the of nothing days, as far as the lunar cycle is concerned. You're left hanging at the end of that cycle 11 days to catch up to the totality of the solar year, which is so you got 354 for the lunar, and you got 365 for the solar. So you have an 11 day difference, and the cycle seems like it's off. But we look at a yearly cycle. We have the and cycle, which is a larger cycle, which happens every 33 years, or every 19 years, or every it's the macro versus the micro. What we're looking at is micro, and we're trying to make it fit. But we need to be looking at a macro version, a larger scale version, and eventually everything will come back to being plumb, being flush, being 12 o'clock again. It's like 12 o'clock on the face of a clock. 12 o'clock, it takes a full 24 hours to get it back to the original 12 o'clock. It takes 12 hours to get back to 12 o'clock, but the original 12 o'clock, it takes 2 cycles to get back to that specific 12 o'clock. I hope that didn't confuse.
No, and you know what he's saying right here, I got this impression. He says seems like an energy cycle, filling and emptying. That's how I see it. But I get it.
Yeah,
It
it's a life
seems like an
cycle.
energy cycle. Yeah,
It's a
filling
life
and
cycle.
emptying, filling and emptying. Oh man, the moon, the way that Yah made the moon is such an amazing thing, right? I mean,
So check
just to
this out.
think of it. I mean, it
Check,
literally monitors the sea and the ocean. It makes the waves do what they do. He's amazing.
so
Amazing.
so 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 listen to this concept, and I hope this
Mhm.
doesn't break the brain or whatever. But and there's no graph or illustration, so please try to follow me linguistically or what have you, and I'm sure I'll mess it up along the way. But okay, but just look. So you have a year cycle, 365, right? So
Uh-huh.
say the sun was at just picture a clock at 12 o'clock, and for a full 24-hour revolution, that's a whole entire year, just hypothetically, in an illustrative type of analogy. So 12 o'clock, and then it takes a whole entire year to complete a 24-hour process to get back to 12 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
Um so um you know that first year, when it gets back to when the sun comes right back at the top of the clock at 12 o'clock, the
Uh-huh.
moon is lagging 11 minutes behind, 11 days behind,
Hmm.
because there's only 354 days in the cycle of
Aha.
a lunar moon, but there's 365. So by the time it takes 365, you're
364 or 365.
well, 365, it's 364 biblically, but I'm talking about the 365 cycle as far as.
Got it.
Yeah, but
A
it's
year.
364 biblically, but even then you're going to be off, and that's why there's always reset days and new moon day. Like, for example, tonight there's no sliver in the sky, so tomorrow is going to be the 30th day of the 11th month. In essence, I'm not saying that it is, but in essence, tomorrow, the 30th day of the 11th biblical month, is a reset day to get us back on
Mhm.
course. I'm not saying
Mm.
that it's a reset
Right.
day. It doesn't say reset day in the scriptures, but I mean,
Absolutely
in
not.
essence, that's technically what it is, to get
Mhm.
us, so because we're looking for the sliver or what have you.
That's a
But
good point. Say that again. Say that
yeah,
again.
everything has a reset. Even when we're looking at the grand scheme of things for the Jubilee years, it's 50 years, it's 49 years, but that 50th year is a reset. So there's resets in play. Even the seventh day Sabbath is a reset for the next week. Everything is a reset. Every cycle has a reset. So yeah, so check this out. Like, so you understand 365 or whatever, and then the for the solar, for the tropical year. I'm speaking on the tropical year, not the counts biblically, or even the counts on different cultures' calendars. But as far as
Uh-huh.
the tropical year is concerned, 365, and then
Uh-huh.
you have the lunar year, or the lunation, for the year, is what, 364 days. So at the end of the solar cycle, you're 11 days behind.
Mhm.
The moon is 11 days behind the solar cycle. Or you can flip that thought process, and you can say that the sun is 11 days ahead of the lunar cycle.
Ahead.
Either way,
Mhm.
either way, it doesn't matter which way you look at it. But what I'm saying is, so it's not flush, it doesn't go back to perfect 12 o'clock. But if you keep on going, the next year it's going to be 22 days
Mm.
behind. And then the next year is
Mhm.
going to be 33 days
Mhm.
behind, so on and so forth. But if you keep on going through the cycle, 33 years later, it's going to be a perfect 12 o'clock again.
Hmm.
And that's the grand, what they call the grand lunar cycle. That's the grand cycle of the moon, is where it gets back to, flush, perfect plumb 12 o'clock all over again on a proverbial, clock, a face of a clock. It takes 33 years. That the grand lunar cycle is a 33-year process, and that is one revolution. That is one grand revolution of a lunar cycle is 33 years. So what's the tie-in? Yahweh Shah was hung on a tree at 33 years of age.
Correct.
So what does it tell you? He's called the Lamb. He's called the Lamb. He is referenced as the Passover lamb. When you look in scripture, the Passover lamb has to be a lamb that is a year old. The Passover lamb that is slain has to be a lamb that is a year old. And people will say, yeah, well, that does Yahweh Shai was 33 years old. He wasn't a baby, he wasn't a year old. But in the grand lunar calendar, 33 years is one revolution, is 1 year. Please understand the correlation of what I'm saying, which lets us know that we have a thought process. When we look at the scriptures, we're always looking at it through a solar lens that Rome has given us. But in actuality, all the concepts Hebraically in the scripture are, as far as time is concerned, are lunar based. Do you understand what I'm saying? 33 years is a grand revolution. That is one revolution. And the lamb is, the perfect lamb that is slain at Passover is a lamb that is a year old.
I think this is all amazing, and I'm so, I just really feel blessed by Yah to be here at this time in our lives. You know what I mean? Because to learn all this stuff, to actually have lived a life and still be able to learn these treasures and nuggets that he has for us to help us to learn him better and to get to live the life that he wants us to live. And it is not easy. It is a journey to take the walk. It really is. It takes a lot of faith, and it takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness.
Right.
It does.
Because we're going out on a limb.
Yes.
And we're being counterculture.
Yes. Counterculture.
And we're going back to Yah's culture.
Yep. That's right.
But see, that whole concept of the 33-year thing being
that's amazing.
Being a year, that illustrates that we might be calculating eschatology incorrectly, because all of our thought processes are solar based. So we're like, okay, 7 years, there's 7 years, and the 3.5 years, and we're looking at it from a solar perspective. What if they're and I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying, what if you have to broaden your perspective? What if they're speaking on the grand lunar year, which is 33 years, and there's 7 of those? I'm not saying that that's the case. What I'm saying is you have to think outside of the box, and you have to think of the Hebraic aspects of what's going on, and not what has been inserted from the Romans and has been injected into our mind, as far as our train of thoughts navigate. We're navigating incorrectly.
Well, Rachel has a question, because I know that what I went outside today to do was, as the sun was coming down, that's when I go to look for the sliver. And I think what you're asking about is during the day. Rachel says, didn't think the sliver could occur during the day. You were mentioning that earlier, Ronnie, while we were talking earlier. You wanna bring that?
I mean, just rounding about depending on the cycle, because the cycle is 29.53 and some change. I'm talking about the lunar cycle. It's 29.53 and some change days.
Okay.
So it's never going to be flush as far as a perfect 30 day or whatever. So it's always going to be slightly. So at the end of that 29.5 days, and we're talking about a 30-day month, 29.5, that means this the end of that cycle is going to happen midday, in the middle of the day, on the 30th day. If that it made sense, but if I articulated
No,
that
it does.
well
It
enough.
and
So
again, it's because we're not looking at the midnight to midnight. It's dawn to
right,
dawn.
right. So if the sliver occurs during the day, then you'll definitely see it that evening. But if you don't see it that evening, it could the sliver could occur the next morning sometime when the sun is up and you don't even see it, and then you'll have to wait till that evening and then you'll see it. And when you see it, the next day is new moon day. It's always the next day that is new moon day.
Mhm.
And I hope I'm articulating.
No,
I
you are. You're doing fine. Steve here says I've never heard of a grand revolution.
look it up. It's called a grand lunation. It's the grand cycle. It's a 33-year cycle. It is the Mac Daddy of the
Where is our boy? Let me text him.
it is
The Mac Daddy of the EMF.
no, I'm saying to use Van Zant's terminology. It's the Mac Daddy of it's the grand cycle. And every ancient calendar has a grand cycle. They have a micro cycle, and then they have a grand cycle. And it's alignment. It's all based on alignment. And when everything aligns, these are the appointed times of Yah. And it doesn't align to perfection every single year, but when they do, that means that is the sign of the time that we're supposed to be, the sign of the time, and the signs, the seasons, the days, and the years that we're supposed to be looking for when we're trying to uncover these end time prophecies or what have you. And they're based on the alignments of the celestial bodies. Astronomy, not to be confused with astrology. That's two different things. Not astrology, but astronomy. But yes, if you can, if I would like to share Deuteronomy just to make a couple of points, because we are approaching the next feast, which is Passover. So this is a perfect evening to speak on this, because
Don't go yet, brother, because I pulled up the Grand Lunation. Hold on, don't go yet, don't go yet. Hold on, there it is. These are This is the Grand Lunation cycle, right there. Can you see that? And this looks like you and Ronnie get this stuff, Steve. This every time I see little circles and little stuff going around and scrabble in the middle, it looks like coordinates of some kind. But this is what it says that it is. So this is the Grand Lunation cycle. I use DuckDuckGo over the past couple of weeks. Been having some really weirdo stuff happen. So the new moon and all that fun stuff, all that's there. Yeah. What is this? It's a lunation. Cancer. Okay, anyway, all sounds like, I don't want to say Greek, but it's all amazing. This is quite amazing. There's one right there. So what is that, Ronnie? Grand lunation. It means that there's light everywhere. Repeat that for me.
no, am I on mute?
No.
Okay. No, the grand lunar cycle takes 33 years to get back to square one. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. To get back in line, in perfect alignment with the solar cycle, to be at the same, the same starting point all over again, it takes 33 years for both of them to catch up with each other. And that is the grand lunar cycle. That is the grand lunar cycle. And that is considered a year. It's not considered a year, but it's an epoch, an epoch. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And
Uh
and
huh.
and that is a time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And you can call that a week, scripturally, as far as metaphors, or even prophetically, you can call that a week, you can call that a day, you can call that a time period, you can call that a year, you can call that an epic or epoch, you know what I mean, an age. That's a point of reference as far as a time frame is concerned. And again, to get back to square one and to be in perfect alignment one with another, speaking on the sun and the moon, it takes 33 years on a grand revolution. It's called the Grand Lunar Cycle, and it takes 33 years for them to get back to the same starting point and be in alignment with each other again. Please, I hope this is making sense. I hope this is making sense. Because we're not steeped in this type of conversation in the Western world, but this is where we get everything that we know is actually morphed and switched and flipped, and we're always looking at it from we're always looking at the truth from a skewed, cloudy, fuzzy, muddy lens. And we have to figure out what is what to find the truth of the matter and the context of the truth of the matter.
Well, that's beautiful. We
Yeah,
have Deuteronomy 6 up now, and Stilgar says, yeah, that is great information. And I will go back to Enoch.
gotta go
Watch the
back to
moon,
Enoch.
folks. It is the timekeeper. I have noticed there are 3 days when the sliver is gone. I assume the second of the three is new, he says.
It's not new, it's the conjunction moon. It's not new as far as biblical is concerned. The new moon is that first sliver. So in reference to how you're speaking, I would say that that would be the third day of the 3 day period that the moon is gone. That would be the new. But as far as new, what they're talking about, where it's a dark moon, yeah, that'll be the second. That'll be the second day. That middle
Okay.
day is the dark moon. So that
Okay.
30th day is dark on one side. Then the new moon, the conjunction moon is dark, and then the next day would be a sliver or what have you.
Excellent. Well, we've got Deuteronomy 16 up right now. Good questions coming from the chat. Great comments coming from the chat. So right now we have Deuteronomy 16. If you guys want to add that to one of
Yeah.
your study passages, you can add Deuteronomy 16. We've got it up on the screen right now, Ronnie.
And it is my desire that this has been more helpful than confusing, because that's the point. I'm trying to break it
Oh
down
no, this has
into
been smooth as
elementary.
silk for me anyway. Yeah, smooth as
Okay.
silk.
All right. So check this out. As far as Deuteronomy 16 is concerned, this is actually clutch information biblically. Observe the month Abib. Observe the month Abib and keep the Passover unto Yah. So we're supposed to keep the Passover unto Yah, our Elohim, our Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Yah, your Elohim, brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yah, your Elohim, okay, and the flock of the herd, and in the place where Yah has chosen his name, to place his name there. So we're supposed to observe the month Abib, and I just want to focus in on that because we are commanded to observe this. What in the world is the month
Yeah, what is
Abib?
an Abib?
Exactly.
I used to
Well,
go buy my
well,
hair from a man named Abib. My
Abib.
little
So
Wiglets came
so
from
so
Abib.
so check this out. So let's just look into the Hebraic you know wordplay to figure out what's going on, and we're doing this briefly. I just wanted to highlight this one verse to let you know that we need to observe this month and keep the Passover, and we're commanded to do this. And once again, this is a direct correlation to Passover, which is what we just talked about, that 33-year grand cycle. And Yahweh Shai, just happened to get hung on that tree at 33 years of age, and it tells you that you're supposed to sacrifice a lamb that is a year of age.
And
So,
is this Abib?
no, this isn't Abib. Right now we're on the 30th day of the 11th month of the biblical calendar.
Okay, so the Abib is dealing with Passover, like in about, what, a month and a half?
I'm sorry, we're on the 29th day of yeah, exactly what you just said. It deals with
Okay,
Passover. But
okay.
don't think,
We're on the
don't think, don't,
29th
don't think
day.
it all just absorb right now. Don't try to connect any dots just as of yet, and just let's absorb this information, and then we'll bring it home. But yeah, it says a bead. It says a
Say the
bead.
dates again, because I'm writing that down. You
So
said the
today is the
29th
because
day.
today is the Shabbat, right? Today's the
Right.
Shabbat, so it's the 29th day of the 11th biblical month.
And you may see people say that this is the 10th biblical month. You guys may see that.
Right,
That's
and
some of
we'll
the
and
things.
but see, we'll end out with that. We'll end out with that
Well,
because
yeah, I just
there's a
wanted to
lot of
bring up
confusion.
part of the part of the part of the confusion that I wanted to highlight, and that was one of the things because that for me, because I was like, yo, that's not
But check
correct.
it though, there's a reset. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm honing in on some of these principles that we found to be historically the case is that in through the English they're called intercalary days or intercalary
Wow,
months.
wow,
They're inserted to get us in line, to get us back in tune, and to get like a grand reset, if you will.
uh-huh, wow. And
So
it's amazing that it's the term reset, dealing with the little guy.
so
Ugh.
well, in the scheme of things, it's the proverbial reset. It doesn't actually say, "Hey, we're resetting," but
Yeah,
in
yeah.
essence, that's what we're doing.
Absolutely, it
It's a
is.
reset.
No, you
So
absolutely
so
right.
so the month of Abib and keep the Passover. So this is what I want us to grasp out of this concept is that Passover is in the month Abib. Passover is in the month Abib. So I'm going here specifically for these two concepts. Passover is in the month Abib. All right. But let me click on this really quick so we can see what in the world is Abib. And I'm not talking about the fella that you get, your hair products from.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering, it's like, is he having a sale or something? That's why he
Okay, so
looking
I'm
a
going to
little
click on the
weird.
interlinear of Deuteronomy 16:1 because that's where we see that we're supposed to keep the month Abib and we're supposed to observe it. So
Share
it says,
from that side. I'm gonna pull mine. Share from your side, because while
am I
you're
not
clicking, they
sharing?
won't. No, I put it up. I'm gonna pull down. Go,
Oh,
go.
okay. Well, give me a moment while I share.
Okay.
Um,
Da, 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 da. Oh, Lucy. Okay. All right.
all right.
We're doing good.
So check this out. So observe the month Abib, right?
Okay.
Look, so we're reading right to left. So this is Ha Ab. Well, okay.
Okay.
Ha Abayab. Abayab. And that this little apostrophe looking thing that is the yod or the yod in the ancient pronunciation, that is the yod, and that is that's the equivalent of a y, so they say abib, and it's ha abib. This is the abib. So abib, and this is Strong's number H24. When we click on that, we're going to get a description on what abib is. Fresh, young ears, also Canaanite name for the first month of the Jewish calendar. Okay, so Abib means green. It means the first inkling of something blossoming, blooming, green, brand new, quote unquote spring. It's in essence the starting of spring.
Of the
So
new. Yeah.
so it tells you that we're supposed to observe Abib, and that's when Passover is in that month. So what's going on here? The concept is you don't start your month, you don't start the beginning of the year until you start seeing green, fresh, young ears. It's talking about maize or corn or what have you,
Corn. Yeah. Corn.
or
Yeah.
just
Maize.
grains in general.
Yeah.
Fresh
That's what I was saying.
heads,
This
a
whole
bead,
winter thing is amazing.
fresh heads of grain.
Mm-hmm.
So we are commanded to observe the month Abib, and in that month is Passover. So this is what's happening. This is when you connect all the dots. You are waiting until you see, I don't know, your flower, your early flower bloom, or your tree bud or something, or your
Aw,
grass start to grow.
Punxsutawney. We can't look at Punxsutawney.
Or you can always look at Puxatani. You can always do that in on your illustrious
Ah,
mainstream media channel. You could always do that.
yeah, a
But
little
as
furry
far
fat
as
rodent. A little furry
as
rodent.
scripture is concerned, he tells us to observe the signs, the seasons, the days, and the years, and we're supposed to scrutinize it so we can see and know the signs of the times. So he tells you right here that we're supposed to observe Abib, and Abib literally means the fresh green, what new growth. So when you see that fresh green new growth, then you wait for that new moon to come. So whatever month you see that in, you wait for that new moon to come, and that new moon starts your year. And that is biblical month 1. And then
Hallelujah.
14 days later is Passover. So
Thank
I
you,
want
Ronnie.
so that's what we're looking for.
Hallelujah.
That's what we're looking for. And hence this is where we may have to give intercalary days or months. Because look, check it out. There's 52 weeks in a year, correct?
Yeah.
If you divide that by 7, that's 13.
Mm.
So there's 13 months in a year. Not 12, because if you really think
Correct.
about it, on the Gregorian
That's
calendar,
correct.
12 months, but 4 of those months has 5 weeks in it.
Mm-hmm.
You take 4 of those months and you take you take that 5th week out, that's 4 months on its I'm sorry, that's 4 weeks on its own. That's a whole entire length of a month. There's actually 13 months when you
That's
break it down,
correct.
28
Mm-hmm.
days or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
You break that down, there's 13 months in a year. So some of us, so the reason why people are saying that we're in the 10th month currently is because they took a 13th month last year.
Mm.
But the reason why I was like, oh no, we have to move forward, is because I saw grass growing, and I saw stuff starting to bud.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, there is no 13th month this year. And we're going with Abib, because Abib means the what I'll just say,
Well, she
proverbial
has it right here.
new
Rachel
growth.
has it. Yeah, Rachel has in Hebrew, Abi, it's Abhibh. She has here literally ear of grain. Very good, Rachel.
Right. So we're looking at the new harvest. We're looking at at the harvest starting to bloom, starting to blossom, starting to grow. Um, and that emphasizes, in essence, green. The end of the cold months, the end of the winter months, and into. But you have to start seeing that green start to manifest itself, and then when that new moon comes, that is the starting of your first month of your biblical year, which is called Abib. And Abib, this is the only, like, Abib is named Abib in Deuteronomy, and Exodus or what have you, a couple of places. And the second month isn't named. The second month is called the second month. The third month isn't named. The fourth month isn't named. These months aren't named. So there's no, and they never tell you that. They talk about the 7th month, but you never hear a 12th month or a 11th month or anything like that in Scripture. These are contrived notions. You have to wait. And that's the reset. Yeah. So at the end of the month, you're waiting to see if, or I'm sorry, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, you're waiting to see if something is green, and if it's not, then that's your 13th. Then you have to go into a whole other month. And the people that think that are saying that it's the 10th month, last year they went into a 13th month. But as far as what we're observing right here, right now, when I calculated it, I didn't go into a 13th month. But this year, it seems, and you won't know until you actually do it, until you actually get to that point, but it seems like we're probably going to have a 13th month this year.
And it's important to note that we are still in captivity, and for the most part, we are still working this thing out, and that we are, as Rachel just said here, still learning. But to Ronnie's point, that would explain why we're seeing people say the 10th biblical month, and it makes good
Anybody that
sense.
tells you that it's the 10th biblical month, it's because they observed a 13th month last year.
Hallelujah. That makes good sense. Thank you for saying this because I was really honestly, I was like, okay, now I know these people are sound people. So what's going on? And so I'm glad
And
you're
see,
saying
but
that.
see, this is the thing. Some people are observing this as the 10th month, and they came in midway, and they don't even know why it's the 10th month. The people that they are basing the information that they've obtained off of it, they observed the 13th month.
Exactly. And the Jesus freak just said, not to mention Julius Caesar added July, which threw off September, which is 7, October, which is 8, November, which is 9, December, which is 10.
But the
Very good
exactly,
points.
exactly, and we
Good
just and we
points.
discussed that earlier on in this episode.
Yeah, those are good
We went
points,
through those
Julius
concepts.
Caesar. Yeah. Like we said that last week too. We were saying, wait,
No,
I
we
need a
said that
month.
earlier on today in this
Yeah,
episode.
I need a month. So Steve says, so where I live, we're likely close to 8 weeks behind the greening that Felicia will see, furthering the confusion. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. And now Rachel says, answered that question why some are in a different month.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay, so check this out.
Augustus, absolutely the Jesus freak. Yep.
So look at verse 2 to that point that you're making. It says, "Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto Yah your Elohim of the flock and the herd in the place which Yah shall choose to place his name there." So we're scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, but hindsight, we know where ultimately Yah decided to place his name. He decided to place his name in the city of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
So so what we need to do is look to see if they're green or not.
Look in that region. We can probably use what is the name of that Duma flick? I like to look at it sometimes when I'm looking for places. The Google Earth will take you right to a street. Well, it's not in real time, but I'm just saying it to say, hey, you want to go to Israel? Want to go to Jerusalem? Okay, we just pop it in there and we're there. But it won't be in real time. That's the only thing. But they do have some of those cameras that do it. I'm going to fish around and see tomorrow. Won't be this evening, but definitely tomorrow, fish around and see what I can find as it relates to what their almanac looks like right about now. Yeah.
And most likely so tomorrow's going to be the 30th day of the 11th month, and this is, like I said, this is an opportune time to really have this conversation because today is Shabbat, and it's the last Shabbat of the month. So tomorrow should be New Moon Day if we see a sliver this evening. But we don't. Therefore, tomorrow is the 30th day of the 11th month.
And it's
the 30th day of the 11th month.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow is the 30th day of the 11th month. There is no 31 days in a biblical month. So that, and tomorrow, as far as what we're speaking right here, is going to be Wednesday? Wednesday, the 2nd of February. So tomorrow evening, there'll be a sliver in the sky. But it doesn't matter as far as the 30th day is concerned because there is no 31st day of the month. So that's going to put Thursday as the first day of the month, regardless, because there is no 31st day of the month. So Thursday is New Moon Day of the 12th biblical month. Thursday is New Moon Day of the 12th biblical
And
month.
can I just say something, you guys? It's totally a little bit. I'm gonna say it because we were just talking about it. Milton Mel Furry Forecaster from New Jersey dies before the big day. The groundhog has died ahead of his big day, according to NewJersey.com and CentralJersey.com. Milton Mel, the star of Milltown's annual Groundhog Day ceremony, recently crossed over the Big Rainbow Bridge, it says. Wow, that wasn't nice. Over the Big Rainbow Bridge. And wow. Huh. And we were just talking about this cat. Okay, well, not cat, but furry little fella. It went on to say that Wow. So now what are they going to, so now how are they going to know what to do if they're not looking at the moon? Okay.
Well, they can
So
come on. They can come on over to the Lockhart Perspective and look at this video right here.
yeah, it says recently crossed over the Rainbow Bridge. His handlers announced on social media. I didn't know that, considering the average lifespan of a groundhog is about 3 years. That is not a shock, such a shock. Sure it is, because you guys were, pulling the little fella all out in front of the camera only a few days back, and then the poor little thing is gone. Wow. Amazing. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just, the things that make you go home, and, well, you guys know I'm a cornball, so go ahead, Ronnie.
So all of this um is interesting, because that lets you know that on the larger scale that something is afoot. That's all I'm saying. Because nothing is coincidence. I mean, yeah, living beings, animals die, but the coincidence factor is quite interesting.
Well, the Jesus freak just said it just snowed in Jerusalem last week.
Okay,
And
so
then this poor little furry guy passes away. Hint, hint. Means they.
so we're definitely looking at a most likely, and I'm talking about in the high 90 percentile section of speaking. We're looking at most likely a 13th month this year. It's intercalary. It's something that's added in to basically get back on track, like a reset type thing. So Thursday, coming up in 2 days time or what have you, the day after tomorrow, will be the first day, which is new moon day of the 12th month. And so that's February 2nd. So
And
just
that is a worship day, right, Ronnie?
absolutely, absolutely. It's a different type of worship day. You can still do what you have to do, but you're not supposed to do any any servile work as far as like clocking in or whatever. But if you need to do anything around the house, you can do that. But you are clearly supposed to be giving Yah your attention. Any sacrifices, any offerings, any prayers and oblations, if you will, or any intercessions, that's the day that you make it, because in Ezekiel 46, it tells you that the gate is open specifically for these types of pleads and communications. So you definitely do that on those days. The other days are 6 working days, and then you'll have a day of rest, which is the 7th day, which is actually the 8th day. And I have something pulled up late, to close out, so we can discuss that to try to eliminate some of the confusion as far as the 7th day being the 8th day or what have you.
Okay. Well, you want to look at that?
No, I want to go get to the points that needs to be made here. As far as Deuteronomy 16, verse 1 and 2, it's corroborated with Exodus 12. And I want to pull that up.
So I'm very happy to know that we're all getting some good stuff. Maureen Olson says, is he the one that the guy dropped? Oh, wow. They dropped the little. Now, I don't, Maureen, I don't like little furry things. I'm allergic terribly to cats. And I don't like, my daughter in her class, they had, when she was a little girl, she's over 30 now, but when she was a little girl, they had not a hamster in the class, and each kid had the opportunity to babysit it for a weekend. Or I do not like anything small and fuzzy, but I did not know that somebody had dropped one. And that's terrible, because he could have suffered if it was this one. He could have suffered something, but yikes, that's sad. But I mean, it's all the more reason for us to understand that these are the things that they do when it comes to the, how do I want to say it? Superstitions and using animals to do certain things. Is that, you know what I mean? It's like, no, let's just keep it the way Yah says, and take your furry animals and, and treat them right and let them live their lives. And I don't like how people use animals, but anyway, but I do like doggies. I just don't like how they do it. I see you have here the Passover instituted is Exodus 12.
Right.
Exodus
So
12.
so so we just came off of Deuteronomy 16, that first couple verses to get us in tune with when the beginning of the year is. This is an excellent coupling verse or chapter to corroborate the thought process. Again, the subtitle itself, it says this is when the Passover is instituted. It says, now Yah spoke to Moshe and Aharon in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be the beginning, shall be your beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Passover being instituted. We just came off of Deuteronomy 16 saying that Passover is in the month Abib. And this right here in Exodus 12 is telling you that the month where Passover is being observed is the first month of the year. Put those two and two together. The first month is
Mm.
Abib.
Oh, very good.
The
And to your
first month
point,
is
that's
Abib.
good. Keep going. This is good stuff.
The first month is Abib. Abib is the first month of the year. Note this. Verse 2, this month shall be your beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Now listen, other cultures do other things. This says, this month, what month? Abib. How do we know that? We just looked at Deuteronomy 16. It says, this month shall be your beginning of months. And it shall be the month of the year. It shall be the first month of the year to you. I don't care what all these other cultures are doing. If you abide by the house and rules of Yah, if you claim that the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is
Mm-hmm.
your Elohim, then
Mm-hmm.
he's telling you that the first month, which is Abib, is the beginning of your months and is the first month of the year to you. It don't matter what anybody else is saying. Yah told you that this is what you are supposed to be doing, and this is what is relevant to and for you.
Outstanding.
Please understand it. He doesn't say, hey, this is what it is, period. He says, yo, you're my people. This is what I'm telling you it is, and this is what you're going to do. And we also dissected some interesting concepts as to where this is a sign that lets Yah know that we're his. He's telling us to do something else. This is the mark of Yah.
That's right.
He's telling us to do something else that is different than the world and its cultures.
This is really good. This is good stuff. Thank you. Good stuff.
So this is for
Everybody else can
you.
do everything else.
Right. And
Oh,
if this isn't for you, this isn't for you. Stop playing
okay.
around with it and go about your business and do your own thing and, have a good time doing it. But if you're serious about Yah and his word and you proclaim and profess that, we're doers of the word, not just hearers of the word, then come on and let's do it.
Mm, very good word. Very
So,
good word.
it says, speak to the congregation of Yasharal, saying on the 10th month of this month, every man, on the 10th of this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household, so on and so forth. So this institutes some of the prescriptions that we are supposed to do as far as Passover is concerned. But I wanted to bring it home as to what Abib is. Okay, that's the green. That's that's the first. I said new growth. I'll just stick to that terminology, and you should by now understand what I'm saying. And it's not your kitchen. Okay,
I
I'm
was
sorry.
about to say, because as a cosmetologist, when you say something like that to me, I'm thinking new growth. Okay, it's a quarter of an inch a month for a healthy adult.
Right,
And it looks
right.
a little wavy.
Yeah, we ain't talking about cleaning up your kitchen.
Now, what you know about a kitchen? What he know about a kitchen? I wish Inger were here. Inger and I will be giving you the business right now. Inger Norman and I will be letting you have it, talking about somebody's kitchen. That's the back of our hair, where our hair really grows curly. The kitchen. Ha! Very good. Very good.
Okay, so
Oh,
but
Sonia, get him. Get him, Sonia.
oh boy. No, but we see uh how it goes together. It's telling us Abib. Yeah, what is that? They're speaking on the same month in which we observe Passover, and right here is telling you, hey, that's the first month of your year. Hey, that's the beginning of your months. So we're going to wait for that. And most likely, I mean, we see how the weather has been. Most likely, we're going to enter I'm not saying that as a matter of fact, we have to actually get to that point and observe it with our own eyeballs, because that's what it says, that, the scriptures tell us to observe it. It's observation. It's not necessarily calculation. It's observation. Calculation helps, and that's a tool that we can utilize. But first and foremost, he said to eyeball it. So this is what we're doing to maintain the consistency of acting out truth biblically.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Walking it out.
right,
Hallelujah.
right. So yeah. Abib, that's the first month of the year. So I just wanted to highlight that point as well. Very, very clutch information to in putting all of this together. So right now we're in the 29th day, which was a Sabbath today, of the 11th biblical month. Tomorrow, because we did not see the moon, the first sliver inkling of that light, um, this evening, tomorrow is the 30th day of the month. We're going to continue on with the month. Tomorrow evening, we should see a sliver in the sky. Say it's cloudy or what have you. Like, it doesn't even matter, because there's no 31st day of the month. So we're automatically entering into the first day of the 12th biblical month on quote unquote Gregorian Thursday.
Okay. Very good.
All right. And that's the first day of the 12th biblical month. And then we're going to go throughout, so next biblical month, as far as Gregory is concerned, the Gregorian is concerned, we're going to be observing Shabbats on their Thursday.
This is really good.
For four Thursdays, and then that fourth Thursday we're going to look at the sky that even, and we're going to see if we see a sliver or not. But check this out, that's going to be the 12th month. So that means that means the month after that is going to be the first month. But if next month we don't see green happening, we're going to enter into a 13th month.
Okay. All right. And we see that's taking us to, this is good stuff.
I trust that you're following. I
I
trust that you're
am.
following.
I am, and I think the
So
chat
so
is as well.
so we can't we because we've seen in the 7th century BCE or BC that Rome instituted 12 months or what have you, but that's not necessarily the case. We have to wait to see if Yah is going to make things green and make things new, and then it says that that's the beginning of the months, and we can't assume that it's necessarily 12. Not to say that it won't be 12, but not necessarily 12. We might enter into a 13th, talking about month or month. And like I said again, the people that think that that we're a month early, or we think that they're a month behind, they instituted a 13th month in their mind, collectively amongst themselves last year. But
Okay.
if we have to institute a 13th month this year, then the first month everybody's going to be on the same page all over again, and that's a grand reset. Did that make sense? Did I just say that? Like, did you understand what I just said? Because while we're observing a 13th month, they're going to enter into their 12th month. And then all of us will see green, and then all of us will enter into the first month collectively, and then we'll all celebrate Passover at the same time.
This is exceptional. This is exceptional. It makes good sense. I'm glad we had the opportunity for all of us to get together and look at this. Please, you guys, in your time, if you have the chance, re-listen to this, especially if this is something that that you are into like we are. I mean, I know there have been a lot of people this evening that are not normally here, and not knowing what it is that you practice or how you practice what you practice. I don't want to assume that that you are doing what we're doing, but if you are, please take the opportunity to look at the Sabbath teachings that we have here, where Ronnie has gone over the Sabbaths, where he's gone over all of the where he has gone over the Feast of Tabernacles, Lots of different teachings that we have here. So we appreciate everybody for being here. We're coming up on 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 49 seconds of having been together on this on this program this evening. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for showing. Ronnie, we're going to close it out here. But before we do, you want to take a minute, maybe 30 seconds to a minute before we close out on the 2 hour mark, and share with the people what you may want to say in closing?
Okay, yeah, I have some information as far as biblically, to kind of iron out any concepts of the seventh versus the eighth day, or any misnomers or confusion as far as the seventh and eighth day being one and the same. And we'll attack those at another time. But I would like this. It is my desire that this has ironed out any issues moving forward, and we are on one collective mindset moving forward, and we'll continue to grow together. But this is the way that is prescribed, Hebraically, biblically, as far as Yah and his astronomical, his cosmic calendar is concerned. And this is how we pinpoint the appointed times accurately. It is my desire that this has been helpful, and as we move forward, may we move forward in peace, being that this is, a Shabbat. So Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I appreciate you so much. And it just does my heart really good. I don't care if there's only 10 people here. I don't care if there's, 4 or 5 people. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming in, getting this word while we still have quote unquote daylight to receive this word, while it is still the opportunity for us to get it. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in. Whenever Ronnie is here, we like to treat our guests well, and he is a good teacher, as you all know. Ronnie, is there any way people could reach out to you if people want to bless you and maybe your household or anything like that? How would they go about doing that? Do you have anything set up where they would be able to do that, or how would you like them to do that?
I don't have anything set up. Yah blesses me profusely. If you feel it in your heart to do so, being that I don't have anything set up, if you can, I don't know, maybe.
You need to set something up because the teachings that he gives are good, and I'm not asking you guys to pay anybody for anything, right? What I'm saying is, if there's some place that you would have been giving anything and you don't have nowhere to give it, and Yah so puts it on your heart, he puts it on your heart to do it. If you could, please, get in touch with us here. If there's something you'd like to give him, put in his hand. It would do me proud and happy, because I he already know he already know what my bank account be looking like. This is literally my brother. But so my point is that if you guys want to love on him, please, you can reach us at Felicia at FeliciaLockhart.com, and possibly by that point there'll be something. But if you guys want to, please do. Okay.
Let me say something. I see you, Miss Rachel. Haha, you are quite funny. If Miss Rachel Van Zyl would like to put that information out there, that would be cool. That would be cool. Because
Okay.
I don't have any way that you can do what Felicia is saying to do or whatever.
Anything you guys choose to do. If you send it, put it his name. If you send it to me, put his name on it, and I'll tag it and send it to him, or however you guys, if that's the
But
choice and
but
if that's on your heart.
Miss Rachel
Miss Rachel.
has a cash app for my wife. So
Okay, there we
maybe
go.
and maybe that
Hmm.
that maybe that would be the route
Hmm.
taken. But I appreciate, um yeah, that being said, there's that. Hallelujah.
Okay, there's
Hallelujah.
that. Hallelujah. And if Rachel wants to put that, please do. So we have appreciated each and every one of you. I appreciate you, Ronnie, the whole entire man household. I appreciate what you guys sow here to the listeners at the Lockhart Perspective, and I appreciate you personally, brother, for all that you do and for the growth and everything that I see in just your ministry. Is just, it's just wonderful how you allow yourself to be used by Yah. So good night to you. I'm gonna pull you here. I'm gonna say good night to everybody and thank each and every one of you. And remember what we always say here on the Lockhart Perspective, and that is that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High. You guys take care of yourselves first. I mean that. And then I want you to take care of everybody else, because like I've been saying for the past week or so, if you're not together, can't nobody else be together. Okay? Nobody else is going to be well if you're not. All right? And for those of you guys who don't know what a kitchen looks like, I do want to share it with you. This is the kitchen. This is what we women in my community call the kitchen, right there. That's why I want to know, what does he know about a kitchen? Okay? You guys know I got to be corny. I can't be me without being me. Nonetheless, you guys, until we talk to each other again, you guys continue to be blessed, okay? Take care of yourselves.
Like a perspective.